Mountain, Island, Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierce, Switchblade, Stab Wound, Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Just start the show. Start the show.
Hello and welcome to Red Mage, Blue Mage. This is our podcast / stream about Magic the Gathering, hosted by me, Kenny, who plays blue.
And then also hosted by me, Amber, who plays red. And I just want to take a second to explain to new viewers who may not know us. So yeah, I'm Red Mage. I believe that the term that best represents me is filthy casual. Like, I like to think I know things about Magic the Gathering, but I really don't. I'm kind of coming at this as I played Magic a long time ago, back in college, and have recently come back to it. Most claims or statements that come out of my mouth are patently false or wildly inaccurate. I'm here willingly to learn, even though I openly refuse to acknowledge any growth I might achieve as a player or even as a person. So that's me, Amber.
I just want to, as a caveat there, for new people, I don't like that you had to emphasize I'm here willingly. There's no kind of coercion going on here. Everyone is here of their own accord, okay? So take it easy on that one.
Okay.
Again, new people, I'm Kenny. I play blue. I've played Magic for 14 years now. Little breaks here and there. I like this group that we have set up here because we have Amber, who is not dive deep into the lore yet, although you're currently in the process of doing some extensive research.
Yes, we'll talk about that later.
Yes. I am like a bee going from wiki to wiki, soaking up information. That's how I engage with it. And then we have our guest, Spice8Rack.
Hello.
And I would say that lore / story is your jam when it comes to Magic. Is that fair?
I'd say that it's something that I know more about than every other aspect of Magic. That's as far as I'm willing to go on that one. I'm just generally bad at everything else as well.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for being on the show. We're really happy and really excited to have you here. Just in general, for the audience, can you talk to us for a minute about what you do in the magical world?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, I'm Spice8Rack. I make YouTube videos predominantly. I do occasionally stream, but my main focus within the sphere of Magic the Gathering is discussion of story, discussion of ludonarrative, which is where game mechanics and story meld to tell the story through game mechanics, and also sort of applying critical theory and deconstructing the media that is Magic the Gathering, and sort of asking broader political questions about what it represents, what it does, what it can do better, etc., etc. Effectively, I am a high production propagandist, and that's me.
So, just jumping straight off from that, for you personally, did nerddom come first, and then you got interested in these more academic deep dive kinds of questions about the games that you liked?
Yes, absolutely. I was a nerd long before I understood politics. I think in my... Oh god, I can't even remember when I would have started being a nerd. I think ever since a kid, one of my favorite things as a kid to read was those fighting fantasy books by Steve Jackson and Neil someone or other. And no, I've always been a massive nerd. But as sort of time went on and I became a little bit sort of... I drifted away from well-intended but complete idiot centrist to the Chad leftist that I am today. As time went on, I began applying that more and more to the media that I consumed, and seeing as the majority of the media I consumed was games and sort of card games and video games, that are naturally that's kind of where I began applying my burgeoning love for research and sort of academic writing. So yeah, I'd say so.
I feel like every academic nerd must go down that path at one point, because also as someone who went down the path of academia, I remember writing papers in my master's program about how to use role-playing games in the English classroom and all like you are writing about what you know, and as you learn more, you're interested in turning that lens onto the stuff that you were already interested beforehand.
No, absolutely. I know that as sort of like my focus mainly was in spoken word poetry, because that's sort of what I was all about before I accidentally had a YouTube career. But no, I completely agree. I know that there were multiple times during my masters and sort of listening to other people who are doing masters or doing their PhD projects, where they were just like, they'd pick something that they were really passionate about that was particularly niche. Oftentimes had something to do with video games or movies or role-playing games. I think a couple of people did some kind of role-playing stuff. But yeah, like I love the fact that of all of its failings, academia can often allow people who just have these very specific niche interests to really shine when otherwise they might not.
Totally. Amber is also.
Oh yeah, I'm just I'm forgetting. I'm here. I can participate in this. Oh yeah, I'm also here right now. Yeah, I feel the same for me. Like instructional design and definitely in my master's degree, I put a lot of role-playing game stuff. In fact, one of my classes was centered around role-playing games as in training, how to train people and teach people. So I love that. Yeah, it was really nice to be able to like, wow, I do this in my spare. Okay, we're gonna completely harvest all of my hobbies so I get an A+ in this master's program. Yeah, I love that bridge. That
was
happens.
Was it like role playing as training, or was it literally a case of like, did you make up a very, very dry D&D campaign based around we need to transport these staplers in a safe capacity? How are we going to do that, adventurers?
This professor will hopefully never see this or hear this, but I really did not enjoy his class. He was very much like, oh, I am going to do D&D just for this class. And I'm like, no, but you have to make this applicable to the real world if I want to be able to tell people how to operate a forklift or whatever. Yeah. Like, you can't just have me sit here and play a wizard's game with you. And how does this apply to things? And unfortunately, I see what he was trying to do for the class, but he wasn't doing a good job bridging it. But yes, I actually made a role-playing game because I was in my actual day job at the time. I did my master's while I was working full-time, and I did a whole role-playing game around figuring out how to choose the correct car seat for your child.
That's so good. That's so mighty. I'm so here for that. That's excellent.
Roll to see how heavy your child is. Random stat generator for your baby. Yeah.
That's life.
That's genuinely exceptional.
That's how genetics works, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, absolutely.
It's funny because as soon as you gave the example of like how do we transport these staplers effectively, I know Amber's brain probably went the same direction. As a goblin, how are we going to move this truckload of staplers cross country?
Explode them the entire way. Like, what else do you know?
Dig a staple hole through the earth.
Exactly.
Okay, so where I wanted to go, I posed this question in prep, and this is completely open, so you're free to go wherever you want with this. Imagine me as a Magic player. I'm just coming into the game. I like the cards, I like the art, I like the gameplay. I know nothing about the Magic story. I'm not really aware that there's a Magic story. My question to you, Spice, should I care about the Magic story?
It's a difficult one. On one side of it, I think that the story is very important for getting a satisfying, playing the game in a satisfying capacity. Because otherwise you're just playing with cool-looking characters who you might not even know their names of, and they're interacting with each other, and, for example, like the card Anguished Unmaking, it's some person killing an angel. Yeah, that's cool. And that has no weight behind it, apart from the weight that the art and the flavor text sort of imparts if you don't have any context. So I think knowing the story is a very important part of having a satisfying time playing Magic the Gathering. The flip side of that is currently getting into the story is a bit of a nightmare. Like right now, we're seeing a slight shift back to the way things used to be, where you can just click on a story article and I know the story of Battle for Zendikar, of Zendikar Rising, and I don't have to go out of my way to buy a really bad hardback book. If I don't like half of the story, which I didn't, I liked all of the side stories. I didn't like the main plot. I didn't like how it was written. But if I don't like that, then I can go away for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and I can come back and try and read another one again. And it's a little bite-sized chunk. It's very easy. So it's easy to get into it now. However, there have been so many confusing, corporate shenanigans that have gone on as it pertains to the Magic story, with certain things from War of the Spark Forsaken, which, like it or not, was a very important book in the canon of the broad Magic the Gathering story. We saw Liliana part with the Chain Veil. Maybe we saw Chandra and Nissa break up. Well, not break up, but some Chandra disavowing that she'd ever liked Nissa, which has kind of half been retconned. We saw Dovin Barn die, probably. Like, lots of very important things happened.
Gideon died.
Definitely. Gideon definitely died. Like, the original War of the Spark, I think most, if not all of that, is going to be canon. But Forsaken, because it was such a complete, I want to say dumpster fire, but it's more like a garbage truck has careened off of a cliff. Like, it's so...
and then caught fire.
And then caught fire in the ocean. It's so bad, and so many things about it have been retconned that I think getting into the story now is a really difficult thing for a lot of people, because I don't know what's necessarily canon anymore, which is a tricky one. So I'd say, yes, broadly it's important to know the story, but if you get into it and you start getting really confused, then honestly, go to the wikis, go learn about all the characters in a sort of like more dislocated, I guess. Not dislocated, that's not the right word. Detached manner, if you're finding it tricky. That's what I would say.
It's interesting. The video that you made that I got into your channel on was about Goblin lore.
Yeah, and that's the one.
I was reviewing that today, and you touched on early on a few different worlds where you're like, and this world, the first world completely detached from Dominaria is Mirrodin. And then I know, came in and said, actually, it is attached to Dominaria via the Mirari, which blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But the thing I came in on Mirrodin, and that's still the Magic story that I think I like the most. And the thing I liked about it is that as a new player, me coming in, reading about the story, it was just a story I could read and enjoy, and I didn't have to have a lot of backloaded information coming into it. And for me personally, I'll flip this to both of you if you feel the same way. Yeah. When I read articles, when I read the story online, even Zendikar Rising, I feel like if I was a player who didn't know these characters, so much work is going into just like dumping information on you about how these characters relate to each other, their past experiences, stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, because I am just now getting back into Magic in general, and I am very much I would like to know more. I feel very lost right now trying to figure out what I should read and what I should be consuming. And the few stories that we have read, Kenny and I have done some dramatic readings on our show, has been hit or miss a lot of the times. And I also don't feel like I care about anybody right now. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm okay. See, I'm starting to blame myself. I'm like, here's some stuff that I should read and care about as a new into the lore of Magic the Gathering. I'm like, but I don't feel connected about this. Is it me? Am I not getting something? Or is it like...
A lot of it is very like Star Wars prequels. It's a lot like in the Zendikar Rising story that we read with Nissa and Nahiri talking to each other. There's so much like talk about, remember when X happened? Like, we're not getting to see things happening.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, like I know, I completely understand what you mean about not connecting to these characters. Part of it as well, Is I guess it's like your perspective is like someone who has just come into this. My perspective is someone who has like not been in like a huge amount of time since Khans of Tarkir, I guess, was when I was properly into the Magic story, and that's when it started. But like seeing such a disconnect between the Nahiri that I know from Shadows over Innistrad lore, for example, and the Nahiri that's being presented in Zendikar Rising, and also how all of the different characters are interacting with her, I feel like a lot of the time that I've already invested in this character has kind of been made moot by a character rewrite that doesn't take into account the actual like depth of her character. So there's lots of exposition with none of the sort of like the pulling back and the calling back to character development of the past. So I think it's a lose-lose situation, really. It's too much information, and none of it has been carried through.
Do you chalk any of that up to overexposure? Like, what I mean by that is they've dialed it back a little bit, but with the Gatewatch, where we saw these same characters over and over and over again, and as a writer, what a challenge it must be to continually have to give something for these characters to do, and to connect it to what they've done in the past. Like, how do you keep caring about a character that you've seen so many times?
I guess we have to ask One Piece fans.
Because that's
what I'm saying.
That's I mean, that's completely correct. Like, somehow comic books have managed to do that with, a Black Panther, with Spider-Man, with Daredevil, et cetera, et cetera. So why has it been so difficult for Magic to do that with even less exposure? Like,
for sure.
Like, how many different Spider-Man comics, like, not even, like, individual copies, but, like, individual like, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, the Spider-Man that's Miles Morales, I can't remember what superlative is attached to that Spider-Man. But, like, how many separate Spider-Mans are going on, and we care about all of them, and as well as, like, their backlog of sort of, like, historic copies. Magic just hasn't seemed to do that. So I don't necessarily think it's overexposure.
I have a question, because I don't know a lot about the stories. Are a lot of the stories usually like these epic quest adventure, world-altering, like, end of the world is coming, here comes somebody with a spark to save the day, Avenger-style stories? I
think yes. I'm thinking of all of the... Okay, so hang on. I'm going to have to, like, blast through, in my memory, all of the... So... the Tarkir storyline was absolutely that. Sarkhanbol goes back in time, saves Ugin, and changes Tarkir completely. We then moved on to... Oh, what was the one after Tarkir? It was... Oh, that was Battle for Zendikar, wasn't it?
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was Battle for Zendikar, and that obviously, like, people with sparks
Very
turn
much
up.
So.
Then it was Shadows over Innistrad, which people with sparks turn up and save the day, which was then followed by Kaladesh, which was people with sparks show up. And it was kind of the denizens of the plane did a lot of the heavy lifting, but it was also a lot of the planeswalkers. Then it was Amonkhet, which was people with sparks show up and lose the day. Then it was Ixalan, which was different because it wasn't like a world-shaking. Like it altered the balance of power in the world between the Empire on Ixalan and the Vampire Conquistadors, and I know so much useless knowledge, I'm just realizing now. So that changed the balance of power there, but it didn't, like, destroy or remake the world. And then, of course, after that, we're going to Dominaria, which, again, didn't have, like, world-altering, but certainly played into the War of the Spark, which was a big...
Both those two were like chess pieces moving on a board rather than a grand like beam in the sky. We have to stop Thanos.
It felt very much like... are you familiar with the terms like fun and games in terms of like movie structure? So in terms of like how movies tend to be structured, specifically superhero movies, is usually have like first act and second act to sort of like build up to a fight, and then the fight goes poorly for the hero, and then we get the fun and games section, which is the hero like addressing what needs to be addressed before they can come back and have the big fight and win the day in the end. like the fun and games section is usually where the most fun stuff happens in a movie, because we're seeing a hero that has been defeated and we are seeing them in a very short amount of time rise back to the point where they need to like succeed. Like those two sections, Ixalan and Dominaria, very much felt like the fun and games section of Jace just getting his memory back for the 9th time in a row, and Liliana killing Belzenlock. Those were the two, like, what we need to do to defeat Bolus, and then Bolus, of course, comes in and goes, "Aha! Got ya!" And then, and then we go War of the Spark, which is Planeswalkers come along, and I mean, that's the big Planeswalker war, isn't it? I think after that, though, Eldraine, not super world-shattering. Theros, pretty world-shattering, seeing as, like, the god of the sun is now under a boulder. And then Zendikar Rising, not super world-shattering, but I guess, like, it is, if the Planeswalkers hadn't have turned up, Nahiri would have done some horrible things, so I'd say a good 80% is Planeswalkers turning up. Yeah. Sorry, that was a massive monologue. I do apologize.
No, that's fine, because it just proves to me what I was like. I'm sure Kenny was seeing the wheels in my head go as I'm like, I want more fun and games. Like, the things that's going to make me care about somebody is not... Like, I'm the kind of person who, story-wise, I enjoy mundane stuff, like the actual like character building things, the growing as an individual. So when so many stories are just superhero, like that, just that short arc, I just start to lose interest. And then there's like 50 planeswalkers or whatever now, and I'm like, I can't keep up with all of this. And the only one I care about currently is the Wanderer, because mystery.
No, that's fair. That's completely fair. I want to know who the Wanderer is.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I would be happy if we never know who the Wanderer is.
Yeah,
to me, that's way more interesting.
She needs to be what I wanted from Rey in the Star Wars sequels. Like, she's nobody you know. It does, like, that doesn't matter.
It's way cool if they're just like a force of nature or something that just shows up. That to me is way more interesting than reveal she is the granddaughter of Nicole Bola somehow.
Sister.
Or yeah, she's the cousin of Jace's sister's best friend. Who, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want that.
I completely agree. I love the it was like I think it was a April Fool's post that Mark Rosewater made, but I genuinely wish that this was actually what it was, is that he posted that the Wanderer is actually the player surrogate. So the Wanderer is supposed to represent the player in so much that we'll never know their true identity, because, you know, the players are Magic the Gathering so far-flung across the world that it's just supposed to be a stand-in. And I love that as an idea. And unfortunately, I think that was a gag, and she's probably going to be Marit Lage's second brother who married Emrakul in the Nicol Bolas Wars or something.
That even makes sense to me, the player surrogate thing, with her, how she operates in the world, where she just blinks into a situation, and you as the player are just like, I'm fighting this person now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I love the chat. Judas Sprinkles says, the Wanderer is the friends we made along the way. Yes!
Perfect.
Yes.
No, that's excellent. That's canon now.
That's great.
So, to tie it back, Amber, you were saying the fun and games is where you get connected with. And Spice, you were talking about the fun and games leading into War of the Spark was Ixalan and then Dominaria. And I think it's just interesting that Ixalan, I think, by Vorthoses, is regarded as a very good storyline. And Dominaria, by players kind of globally, is regarded as a very, very good set. So you had this nice, like, juicy 2-block chunk that players and Vorthoses really liked, and that is the fun and game section. And then we sort of descended into the nightmare of what the story became and what Standard became after that. But it just, to me, it just felt good to go on this romp. You know what I mean? Like, it felt good. This is a little bit of a tangent. Original Zendikar, I loved so much just being in this adventure world. And then, you know, the Eldrazi show up, which I like the Eldrazi too, and they just kind of wreck everything.
Yeah.
But I just loved being on a fun fantasy adventure romp. And it feels to me like that's what fun and games is just going on this romp through this world that you can just jump into and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. I feel that Magic to a degree, takes itself too seriously in the animated trailers with Evanescence playing behind them and all that silliness.
Wake me up.
I couldn't take it seriously.
I didn't either.
I
Thank God.
assumed it was a
Nothing
fan
like that.
edit. The visuals look great, and actually on that point, a lot of my friends who don't play Magic sent that to me and went, "Is this the thing you talk about on YouTube?" And it's like, you can watch my videos, you know me. But they were excited about that trailer. But broadly, I feel that the story itself does take itself a bit too seriously, and if it was just a bunch of planeswalkers punching each other, and then the actual story is going on in the background where we see interesting new characters and the mundanity of. I also love mundane characters. It's one of my what was her name? I cannot remember the name of the author. Was it Nikki Drayden? I think. Who wrote the Ravnica Allegiance and Ravnica's is it City of Guilds? Was Ravnica City of Guilds the one that came out before Allegiance, or was it?
Oh boy, I don't know.
The one with
Can't remember.
The newest Ravnica set. I can't remember either.
Guilds of Ravnica.
Guilds of Ravnica. Thank you. Yes,
certain random guy. Thank you.
City of Guilds was the original.
Yes, thank you. It's what a stupid naming convention.
I mean, when I got back into the game, I came back to Return to Ravnica, and the running joke for me is Return to Ravnica? I've never even been. And so I was like, what? Okay, cool. Anyway, sorry. The author you were talking about for Guilds?
Yes, so
Guilds
it was Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance before the War of the Spark happened. Nikki Drayden, I'm pretty sure is the author's name. She wrote 10 short pieces from the perspective of just people living on Ravnica.
Just denizens on Ravnica. That's Amber's jam.
Which you start with what's it? It's the illusion of child's play, which is from the perspective of, I think, an awkward devil who's just trying to run a shop, and some Rakdos cultist comes in and goes, "I know you. We were at that orgy," and he's like, "Were we? Oh god!" And just having a bit of a panic attack. As some Azorius guy is outside talking about we need stricter laws on the Rakdos. It's delightful. It's genuinely wonderful. I wish Magic Story was just that, frankly.
Okay, good. That got into the other thing I wanted to touch on, because Amber and I have talked about the vision that we have. What would we want the Magic Story to be like if we were in charge? And we are huge fans of vignettes, of looking at little stories in a larger world. If you want to understand a world, I think it's much more impactful, both on a story perspective, but on a world building, to see little snippets of what is this world like. Amber just grabbed pen and paper and was just.
I threw it down. I did write stuff down, but man. Yeah, it's exactly what I want. I mean, I write vignettes all the time for my role-playing characters.
Oh, tight.
And I've performed as a goblin.
Yeah.
I have goblin's voice. But yeah, I really like writing vignettes, and I want to write more fanfic. I want to be writing more, and I've done one Nicole Bolas piece that was completely satirical. It was ridiculous.
Perfect.
But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I would love to see more vignettes, more peeks into these mundane characters that really don't have a real true impact on the main story, but they're affected by it. That's cool.
No, I could. Yeah, I've always found the ones that are. I think maybe that's why I enjoyed Ixalan so much, is that even though every single story had something to do with the Golden City, because every person on Ixalan was rushing to it, it felt like no one was, even Jace and Vraska, that it never felt like they were necessarily the ones pushing the narrative forward. Everyone felt just in this weird elbows and knees race to get to this one singular goal. So everyone kind of felt like a minor character in this grand narrative, and that was wonderful. The conspiracy stories as well. If you like a good goblin story, there's it's in the Conspiracy Take the Crown narrative. I cannot remember. I'm gonna look it up because I desperately want to get this name right because it is one of my favorite stories. But it's
I didn't even know that those had narratives.
Oh, they do, and they're amazing. The original conspiracy story is delightful, but the conspiracy take the crown story. There's one in particular that I love more than anything, which is it's the story where Doretti and Grenzo get their characterization properly. Grenzo had a little bit of characterization before, but it's the first story that we see Doretti as a character, and they are burglarizing this old artificer's house, and this old artificer was the one who stole Doretti's mechanics blueprints and then became famous and wealthy because of it, and Doretti's trying to get his own back, but he's just this awkward nerd who happens to now be in a horrible robot spider chair, so he's super imposing physically, but he's just I'm gonna you did me wrong, and it's amazing. I need to look this up because it is
okay. Go.
He sounds a little Doc Ock-ish to me.
Yes, yeah. I think that's a really good way of putting it. Actually, hang on. Yeah, he's just. I need to find it. Oh my god.
Amber lit up when you brought up Doretti.
Yeah, it's Doretti because he's my first commander.
Oh, sweet! Doretti is my favorite planeswalker, hands down.
The only planeswalker other than the Wanderer, that I care about as my commander.
I think that's completely legitimate. Where is it? Okay,
I'm Cranko all the way.
We'll definitely leave notes in the podcast as well for this.
Oh, for sure. The annoying thing about how Magic the Gathering works its... there we go. The annoying thing about how Magic the Gathering works its website is that it's very difficult to find stories. It's called Bloody Instructions. Can I link it in chat at all? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you sure can. I think you can do that.
Sweet. Then.
Also, yep. There it is. Also, thanks a certain random guy. I didn't see it beforehand, but yeah, they got the story's Bloody Instructions.
Thank you, a certain random. Pleasure to see you, by the way. Hello. But yeah, it's wonderful. If you like Goblin stories and you like vignettes, there we go. Yeah. A gift.
Oh. Thank you. I will get to that eventually.
Got a lot of books to get through first.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of vignettes, I don't want us to run out of time here. We are going to, in the second half of this show, we are going to pitch each other an idea. It could be more or less fleshed out for a bit of fanfic, a bit of story that you would like to see told about a character. And it can be us workshopping it. It can just be us talking about it. But I'm very intrigued. Amber's been messaging me about hers, and I have no idea where it's going. But let's start, though, with our esteemed guest. So, Spice, what have you got for us?
Right. So this is actually one that This was before War of the Spark happened. This is one that I think when the TV show was first announced, immediately in my head it was well, if I was doing a TV show, what would I want to see? And my first gut instinct is, what is a story that we haven't seen it told through the medium of Magic the Gathering before? We've had revolutions, we've had world-ending monsters, we've had jungle adventures. We haven't seen a heist. So what I would want to see, and again, I say before War of the Spark because my ideal cast was Davriel Kane, Dak Faden, Doretti, and then their scheme of three is interrupted when accidentally a young planeswalks for the first time and just lands in their room. At which point, Dak immediately goes, this planeswalker is a lucky charm. We're taking her with us, and she's going to become part of the heist now. Doretti isn't having it, and Davriel Kane's just sort of giggling around, and so that he gets outvoted. The fan fiction would be Dak is trying to steal some artifact from, I'm going to say Fiora, hence the reason why Doretti's involved. Doretti wants to use this as an opportunity to destabilize the government, or destabilize the monarchy. And Davriel Kane has been roped in on one of Dak's many favors that he's he's either pawned out to Davriel or he's calling in on Davriel. And it's just, it's this romp through Fiora, it's this romp through the city of Paliano. Little hijinks happen. Maybe there's a bit of a double cross. Maybe Davriel or Doretti double crosses the crew or something like that. But at the end of the day, it would be this young planeswalkers sort of like introduction into the game with these 3 wonderful characters who we do not see enough of, and of course Dak we will never see enough of now because he's dead. That's my ideal fanfic. It's not super fleshed out, but that's my drive.
I have one very important question.
Yes.
How did this new young planeswalker spark?
Ooh.
That I hadn't.
Your answer is critical here.
That I hadn't actually thought of. I just focused on the story itself. I guess. I think like thematically it would be, I don't know, she steals something and is about to get caught by guards, and as the guards grab her, she planeswalks, and then she's got I don't know, like a ruby in her hand, and Dak's like, "We're not. A lady just turned up with a ruby. We're not getting rid of her. This is perfect."
Okay. That passes for me, because if it was some tragic, horrible, I sparked because I watched my entire family burn to death in front of me and I escaped, I would have been very upset, because I am sick to death of planeswalkers sparking from trauma-based scenarios. That's like my biggest complaint of when I was coming back into it. So for me, I left Magic right after Lorwyn. That was my last set that I played, which is like, I don't know if it's nostalgia or whatever, but I really loved the art of it. Omar Rayon, I think it's how he say his last name. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but his art I love, and I just love fairy tale stuff. And planeswalkers were just becoming a thing. And so I kind of like left that. And then when I came back and I was like, wow, these planeswalkers are really sad. This makes me really upset. So yes, a certain random guy, she needs a spark out of happiness. Like, she's got the ruby, it's elation, she gets caught.
Well, maybe she doesn't even get caught. Maybe she grabs it and it's like, yeah!
I see a bunch of different routes you could go with this female planeswalker character. The one that popped into my mind as far as the dynamic that she has with the group is like a Bilbo Baggins kind of route, where she might not be a thief at all, and Dak is like, planeswalkers planeswalk for the first time for a reason, and you planeswalked into a heist. You belong here. And she could be like the fumbling, like, I don't belong here. I'm a farmer, or whatever, her mundane job is.
Yeah.
I love
Or
it.
going the route of she was on a heist. It'd be interesting if her unique planeswalker power is just she's so slippery. Like, anytime she gets cornered, she planeswalks. And that's what makes her useful to the crew. She can get into the vault, and when it closes, she just zips out. Like,
it's because planeswalkers now all have some trademark planeswalking ability. Is that what you're...
Well, yeah, they when they brought in the Wanderer, and they brought in I forget his name now, the one with the puppy dog, where he gets planeswalk with a
not Moru, Yangu.
Mark Rosewater was talking about. Yeah, that's his unique spark property. Is he has this one companion that he can bring with him, even though nobody else can do that.
Is that the phrase he used?
No. Don't quote Mark Rosewater.
I was gonna say that's like the lamest way of saying superpower possible. Good lord.
Okay, well, that's what I said. But,
No, it's fine if you say it, but if that was like the official thing,
I would not.
I would have laughed.
I mean, this is the company that came out with modal double-faced cards, so I would not be taken aback by that.
That's very silly.
Spark property.
But yeah, there's
twin sparks. The twin sparks, right?
Oh, right.
The two
Eldraine
that
twins.
share a spark.
Yes.
That's weird.
Well, yeah, you hate that.
I hate that. I hate that when it came out. I felt weird about it.
I also hate it because it's like, okay, so this is the second pair of siblings who are planeswalkers, and planeswalkers are supposed to be like 1 in a billion chance. We had Ugin and Nicol Bolas, and now we've got the planeswalker twins. It's like, okay, sure. That seems very silly for me.
And also just like weirdly sharing a soul. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that I'm just like, it
Yeah,
makes me feel icky.
That whole narrative ended with a flop and a question mark. I want to hear your fanfics. I want to hear yours.
Yeah. Kenny,
Okay.
go first. Leave me for last. I'm still
I was
thinking.
gonna say we're saving you for the end. Okay, so mine is it's about a character that just sort of bothers me in the way that they have been portrayed. So let me start by giving you just my very quick one-line elevator pitch. So the story is called Blood and Stone, and the one-line pitch is, it's the Ferris wheel scene from The Third Man, but it's with Soren and Nahiri.
I don't know what that means.
I also have not seen the third man.
So I can give you and anybody who's listening who doesn't know. So the Third Man, it's a 1949 film, and it's about a guy is meeting an old friend, or he's supposed to meet an old friend, but his friend winds up is dead before he gets there. And he's hearing weird rumors that his friend was mixed in some bad business, and he's like, my friend was a rascal, but he would never have done that. And he's investigating because he thinks weird things keep turning up. He thinks he might have been murdered. And spoilers for the Third Man, his friend's not dead. His friend faked his own death because he is a racketeer. He is a criminal. He's been doing some really, really horrible things. He's been selling bad medicine to hospitals. And so they meet dramatically on a Ferris wheel, and they're talking about, he's like, how can you do this? And his friend, Harry Lime, looks down from the Ferris wheel to the people walking below. And he says, look down at those dots you see moving down there.
Victims? Be melodramatic. Look down there. Would you really feel any pity if one of those dots stopped moving forever? If I offered you 20,000 pounds for every dot that stopped, would you really, old man, tell me to keep my money? Or would you calculate how many dots you could afford to spin? Free of income tax, only. Free of income tax.
And so the idea that I have, the reason I came up with this is that I think the story did Nahiri so dirty. Like, the whole thing where Soren kind of abandons her and leaves her world to die. And her response is, I'm going to kill an entire world of sentient people and animals in response to that is just so... She's such a, like, bad Star Trek villain. She's like Nero from the 2009 Star Trek. I'm going to blow up your planet then. And I don't like that very much. And so the idea that I have is it's two narratives going back and forth with each other. We have Nahiri in Shadows over Innistrad about to execute her plan to bring Emrakul into the plane. And she's about to go to Markov Manor. And then it's flashing back to kind of the good old days with her and Soren on some romp. And in my mind, they're doing some Indiana Jones, like, swashbuckling adventure and having a good time. But as we keep cutting back and forth, Soren is doing some questionable things. He lies to someone, he mind controls someone, he puts people at risk, or maybe even gets some people killed. And Nahiri is, like, questioning this, and Soren, who's lived for thousands of years, is like an immortal vampire. He's like, look, you can't afford to care about every single one of these people. And Nahiri's questioning that. And she's like, I'm not going to be that way. And the story is going to end with her descending on Markov Manor, and she's looking at these vampires she's about to kill kind of in the same way. I want to see her. I want to see a convincing fall to the dark side. I want to see her like, you don't know it, but you've done exactly what Soren did. You're just calculating at this point.
Gotcha. I'm laughing in my head because of this really well thought out idea, story, and I'm just in contrast what's going on in my head right now.
That's the brand.
That's wonderful. I think...
Yeah, jeez.
The story, you're right, like, Nahiri has been characterized in such a bizarre capacity, in so much that why on earth would she even bother to, like bring Emrakul to... Like, in this stride, it is like Soren's home plane. Obviously, he cares very deeply for it, but it's not like his car that she's totaling. It's many, many innocent people, and if she genuinely isn't like some kind of unfeeling monster, which she isn't, she provably isn't, because she cares about Zendikar. Like, it's such a bizarre characterization. I completely agree. So no, I think there is necessarily some kind of interim stuff that needs to be done to show Nahiri and Soren to either give credence to that weird betrayal of her character or to kind of retcon it. I would completely agree with you on that fact.
I don't have very much experience with Nahiri, so I really don't, I think this would help make a story that actually, like, because did we read that story where she was like on... Kenny, help me. My brain is
we read the first of the new stories about Zendikar Rising, and it was Nissa and Nahiri teaming up, and
It was weird
and
for
them
me.
being kind of tsundere to each other,
Yeah,
and being
like-
weird, and like sprouting strong vibes through a black gate. It was all very weird and sexual.
I was reading it that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was. It's just how I interpreted it. So yeah, I don't know. In my head, I just have that like little glimpse of her, and I'm like, she just seemed, I don't know, like, again, Kenny used the right word, tsundere. Don't look at me,
Yeah,
but also look at me. Like, who are you?
She attempted genocide. Like,
Yes, in a very
Okay.
big way.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, and no one brings it up. Everyone's just like, oh, Innistrad,
Hiri.
and little like Home Improvements theme plays. Oh, Nahiri. Very silly.
Oh man. All right. I guess is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yes,
go
please.
Okay. So
on. I'm excited.
I have two two ends of the spectrum. There's two kinds of stories I like. One is either very abstract world building. I love the worlds that are in. I think I'm more connected to the worlds and the planes of Magic the Gathering than I am to any characters. And I've ranted and raved to Kenny about this on previous episodes that I am super infatuated with the Eldrazi. Like, I think there is some really cool potential, ridiculous, Annihilation-esque Jeff Vandermeer kind of storytelling where it's mostly allegorical, metaphor. It's just the world and the characters are like, if there is a character in there, it's just there to stand in to like project some idea on. I love that kind of stuff. On the other end, I love the mundane silly, and I was trying to decide to which one I'm going to choose. And I decided that I want to talk about my silly, mundane story that I can actually write. And it's about a Rakdos cackler. Because I love that card so much. It has done me so good. And every time I see him come onto the battlefield, I want to know this little cackler story. What is the deal? How do you become a cackler in the Rakdos Guild? What is the qualifications? Does he want... Is that was like he this little devil was born and he was like, yeah, one day I'm going to be a cackler. And that's his goal. And he's like working towards it all the time. What does even cackling entail? Is he just whipping in torture? Does he even truly know what a cackler does? I don't... Whatever.
When was the last time you cackled for yourself?
Yes, exactly. And that's what I want to get at. So he gets into it, he gets his hopes and dreams, he becomes a cackler, and he's disillusioned because it's not that great of a job. But it seems cool because they get a cackle at all sorts of events, and it's just a sham, and his name is Squintin, and I've got this whole thing that I'm going to do with this little devil, and I want to see... Yeah, that's my story. That's what I got.
It's like Starlight from The Boys, but this goblin.
Zero
cackler.
feedback. Perfect story.
Oh man,
I love that.
Because it's to me, it's like, I love seeing cards and, not being connected to the lore really right now. It's like I looked at him, he's like, okay, he's not a legendary creature, so there must be like a gaggle of cacklers, like there's gotta be lots of them. So, but what I want to highlight one and see his journey into cackledom. And then his fall.
So I think that you said a gaggle of cackles. I think it should be called a barrel of cackles.
Whatever sounds funniest when it comes out of your mouth.
The vision I have right now, like as far as like a scene goes, is him coming home to his partner, and like you would hang up your coat on the rack. He's hanging up like a chain, like a collar with a chain.
Yes.
And he's just like. Another hard day of cackling.
Honey, I'm cooking an Azorius' leg in the kitchen. Do you want a slice?
Azorius leg again.
God, I would give.
I want to
like,
see domestic cackler.
And like he has a secret room where it's like dreams of other places that he wants to go to. Like he would love to become a planeswalker. He's heard of them. He wants to be able to travel to different planes. Oh, Squintin, may your dreams come true.
He could have, like, during War of the Spark, seen, like, Tybalt and been like, that could be me someday.
Oh, poor Squintin. You don't want that.
No, you don't.
You don't. If that's your role model, whew.
Never meet your heroes, kids.
Also, I love Tybalt, too. He's, like, on, like, for funny reasons. For funny reasons. I think he's edgelord supreme that I would love to also write about. in a satirical way, because I think it's a great, ridiculous character.
I-
We were talking about, like,
Yeah.
Magic takes itself too serious. I don't know what they did with Tybalt, but it's not serious, and they should have way more fun with Tybalt.
I agree. Tybalt and Doretti and what's his Angrath. I like our characters that we don't see enough of. I know we've seen a lot of Angrath recently, but we don't see enough of him. That I wish that Wizard would just have a little bit more fun with. I mean, Angrath's name is Angry Wrath, just slammed together, like. And they take him so seriously. But at the same time, I just love this gruff Minotaur who's like, I've run away from the kids again! God damn it!
I love it. I want that. That's
To
what I
connect
want.
these two, I think Tybalt could also be a great co-conspirator in your heist narrative as like the loose cannon crazy guy in the crew.
I personally like the idea that Tybalt like turns up at some point and he's got like a rival crew, but it's with a bunch of unnamed and reasonably useless planeswalkers, and he's just doing it because he's jealous of Davriel or something.
Squintin is there.
Squintin is there. Bolivar's 14th daughter, who also got his spark, is there. The whole crew. Some statue from bloody Tarkir, who got a spark inexplicably. They're all there. They're all in prison. I love this idea.
Oh, I love it. So good. Oh, man. I love it. All right. I got to write down Squintin. That's the name I just came up with.
Was that on the fly?
Yeah.
That's an
That's why you
amazing
needed-
name.
That's why you needed the extra time there.
Yeah, it was just percolating. I needed that. Hope it was worth it.
I think that's a good place to wrap up today's show. Spice, thank you so much for being a guest.
No problem.
Thanks for everybody for being in stream. This will be a podcast later on. I think this will be our episode 100. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm honored.
Wow.
Very special. We should go through and just say who we are, where you can find us. Let's start with Spice.
Cool. Well, you can find me on YouTube at Spice8Rack. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spice8Rack. You can find me on YouTube at Spice8Rack. And Twitter is what I was supposed to say in that line. And yeah, if you like Magic the Gathering lore, come check me out. If you like media analysis about Magic the Gathering, yeah, come check me out. We'll have a bar meet. It'll be an absolute delight. I've got a new video coming out. Hopefully, I'm aiming to get it out by the 22nd. So a Christmas treat. So do
A Christmas treat that I hear is related to something that happened in June.
yes. Don't think too hardly about it.
All right, awesome. Amber?
Yes, hi. You can find me on Twitter at RocketOrca. Also, rocketorca.com for graphic design stuff, because that's what I do freelance. And then geekspective.com for all of our podcast things. I'm the co-owner. And Kenny, I'm passing to you, who is the Geekspective's greatest intern.
Yes, I am the official Geekspective intern, co-host of Tabletop Babble. You can find me on Twitter at Wolfmere. You can find me also at geekspective.com. And you can find us, Red Mage Blue Mage, at RedBlueMTG on Twitter. Please say hi. We're happy to talk. We're always looking for more topics to discuss, so we'd like to see you there. I think that's it. Until next time, I'll be representing Counterspell.
I am cackling.
And I am a guest.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.